Captain James Walker stood at the bridge of the Resilience, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. The year was 2157, and humanity had finally broken the light barrier after decades of work. Around him, the crew worked at their stations with focused energy. They were making history, the first humans to travel beyond their solar system. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," said Tom Reed, the ship's navigator. His eyes were fixed on the glowing screen in front of him. Walker nodded. "Slow to half speed. Let's not make a dramatic entrance." The Resilience dropped out of FTL travel smoothly. The view screen showed a massive space station ahead. It looked like a giant metal flower with petals spread wide. Lights blinked across its surface, and smaller ships moved around it like bees around a hive. "It's beautiful," said Anna Miller, the ship's science officer. "Just like the message said. The central hub of the Galactic Council." Walker straightened his uniform. Humanity had received the message 3 years ago, a welcome to the galactic community and coordinates for this meeting. After confirming it wasn't a hoax, Earth's nations had worked together to speed up the FTL project. Now, they were here to introduce themselves properly. "Open a channel," Walker ordered. Before they could, the ship's communication system came to life. "Human vessel," a calm voice said. "You are cleared to dock at Bay 14. Follow the guide lights." Reed looked at Walker. "They knew we were coming." "Of course they did," Walker said with a small smile. "They've probably been watching us for years. Let's not keep them waiting." The Resilience followed a path of blue lights to a docking bay. With a gentle bump and hiss of airlocks, they were connected to the station. Walker led the first contact team. Miller, Reed, and Dr. Lisa Park, their diplomatic expert. They stepped through the airlock into a wide hallway. The air smelled clean but strange, with a hint of something like cinnamon. At the end of the hallway stood 3 figures. They were clearly not human. The one in the center was tall and thin with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. To its left stood a stocky creature with tough, bark-like skin. The third was almost human-looking except for its silver eyes and the ridge of small horns on its forehead. "Welcome," said the 4-armed being. "I am Director Trell of the Galactic Council. These are council members Brock and Nema." He pointed to the bark-skinned creature and the almost human one. "Captain James Walker of Earth," Walker said, stepping forward with an outstretched hand. "This is our first contact team." Trell looked at the offered hand, but didn't take it. Instead, he made a slight bow. "Please follow us to the council chamber. The others are waiting." The humans exchanged glances, but followed without comment. The council chamber was a large round room. A circular table dominated the center, with 12 seats around it. 9 were filled with aliens of different shapes and sizes. Trell and his companions took their seats, leaving the humans standing. "The council recognizes the human delegation from Earth," Trell announced. "We have observed your species for some time. You have finally achieved FTL travel, which qualifies you for first contact." Walker stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we're honored to meet you. We hope to learn from you and share what we know." A low murmur went around the table. Not all of it sounded friendly. "Learn from us," said a small bird-like alien with bright red feathers. "What could we possibly learn from you? Your civilization is barely out of its cradle." "Minister Vex," Trell said calmly, "let us be polite to our guests." Walker kept his face neutral. "Every species has something unique to offer. We've overcome many challenges to get here." "Yes," said Trell. "Your persistence is notable. But persistence alone does not earn a place at this table. The council has standards." Dr. Park stepped forward. "Perhaps you could share those standards. We're eager to work toward membership." Trell's 4 hands made a complex gesture. "Council membership requires proving your species has the stability and wisdom to join galactic society. Most species need centuries after achieving FTL travel." "Centuries," Reed whispered. "Some never qualify," added the bark-skinned alien named Brock. His voice sounded like grinding stones. Walker felt the weight of their judgment. These beings had been traveling the stars while humans were still figuring out agriculture. But he hadn't come all this way to be dismissed. "We understand we're newcomers," Walker said. "But humans adapt quickly. Give us a chance to prove ourselves." Director Trell tilted his head. "A chance? How interesting." He turned to the other council members. "The human wishes for a chance." More murmurs, then Nima, the horned humanoid, spoke. "Perhaps the Proxima challenge." The council chamber grew quiet. Walker noticed several council members looked uncomfortable. "What is the Proxima challenge?" Walker asked. Trell seemed pleased by the question. "Proxima Centauri b, a planet in your own backyard, so to speak. The council has determined it is uninhabitable by conventional standards. Deadly radiation, extreme temperature shifts, caustic atmosphere." "We know of it," Miller said. "Our probes have sent back data." "Then you know it's hostile to life as you understand it," Trell continued. "The challenge is simple. Establish a self-sustaining colony there within 5 Earth years. Succeed, and you earn council membership. Fail, and Earth surrenders all FTL technology and remains isolated for 100 years. The human team looked shocked. "That's not a fair challenge," Park said. "You've just said it's uninhabitable." "By conventional standards," Trell corrected. "If humans are as adaptable as you claim, perhaps you'll surprise us. Of course, you can decline. Return to Earth and spend the next few centuries developing at your own pace." Walker knew what that meant. Earth was overcrowded, its resources nearly depleted. They had pinned their hopes on joining the galactic community, finding new homes among the stars. A century of isolation would be devastating. "And if we accept this challenge and succeed?" Walker asked. "Full council membership," Trell said. "Access to all shared technology and trading rights. But no species has ever succeeded at the Proxima challenge." Minister Vex laughed. A chirping sound. "The humans won't even try. They'll go home with their tails between their legs." Walker stepped forward, his decision made. "We accept the challenge." His team looked at him with surprise, but no one contradicted him. Trell's expression didn't change, but Walker thought he saw disappointment in those alien eyes. Had the director expected them to refuse? "Very well," Trell said. 1 Earth year to prepare, then 5 years to establish a viable colony. The council will observe your progress." As they left the chamber, Dr. Park pulled Walker aside. "Captain, do you realize what you've done? That planet could kill everyone we send there." Walker looked back at the council chamber doors. "They expect us to fail. They've already decided we're not worthy." He straightened his shoulders. "But they don't know humans very well, do they? We've been surviving against the odds since we climbed down from the trees." Reed nodded slowly. "Earth is counting on us." "Then let's not let Earth down," Walker said, his eyes fixed on the stars visible through a nearby viewport. "Let's show the council what humans can do when someone tells us something is impossible." The news of Captain Walker's agreement with the Galactic Council spread across Earth like wildfire. Some called him a hero, others called him a fool. But no one could deny that humanity's future now hung in the balance. 1 month after the Resilience returned to Earth, Walker stood in a large conference room at the United Earth Space Agency headquarters. The walls were covered with screens showing images of Proxima Centauri, a rust-colored world that looked as unwelcoming as the Council had claimed. "Ladies and gentlemen," Walker said to the group gathered around the table, "we have 11 months to prepare for the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced." The room was filled with 20 of Earth's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, and survival experts chosen from thousands of applicants. "The Council believes we will fail," Walker continued. "They think Proxima will kill us. And they might be right, unless we can find a way to adapt to conditions that have been deemed impossible." An older man with gray hair and tired eyes stood up. "I've reviewed the data from our probes and the information the Council provided. The radiation alone would kill an unprotected human in days. The temperature swings from boiling hot to freezing cold in the span of hours. The atmosphere is toxic. It's a death sentence. Thank you for that cheerful summary, Dr. Wilson, Walker said dryly. Now, does anyone have solutions instead of problems? A woman with short brown hair and intense green eyes raised her hand. I do. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Emma Richards, she introduced herself. I've spent the last decade developing terraforming technologies for Mars. Proxima is worse, but the principles are the same. She walked to the main screen and brought up a series of diagrams. My team has been working on adaptive habitats, living structures that can respond to changing conditions. We combine genetically modified bacteria with flexible building materials to create shelters that can heal themselves and evolve over time. Sounds great in theory, Dr. Wilson said, but Proxima would destroy your bacteria in seconds. Dr. Richards smiled. Not if we use the planet's own microorganisms as a starting point. Our probes detected microbial life in the soil. If we can modify these organisms, which already survive there, we have a starting point. Walker nodded, feeling a spark of hope. How quickly could you develop this? With unlimited resources. 6 months for the basic habitat design. But we'd be learning as we go. You'll have whatever you need, Walker promised. A man at the end of the table cleared his throat. He was younger than most in the room, with dark circles under his eyes and hands that never seemed to stop moving. Marcus Thompson, engineering, he said. If we're going to build on Proxima, we need to rethink everything. Our usual materials won't work there. What do you suggest? Walker asked. Thompson brought up his own designs. Modular systems. Everything redundant. Everything replaceable. And most importantly, everything must be able to be built from local resources. We can't ship replacement parts from Earth. How do you know what resources are available? Someone asked. I don't. That's why every component needs at least 3 ways to be manufactured, using different raw materials. Walker was impressed. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need. The door opened, and a tall woman in a military uniform walked in. Her face was weathered, with a long scar running down her left cheek. Sorry I'm late, she said, taking an empty seat. Commander Alex Rodriguez. I was finishing up a training simulation. Walker nodded to her. Commander Rodriguez has survived in some of the most hostile environments on Earth. She'll be training our colonists. With respect, Captain, Rodriguez said, no training on Earth can prepare people for Proxima. The psychological toll alone will break most candidates. Then who do you suggest we send? Dr. Wilson asked. Rodriguez's eyes scanned the room. People who have already been broken and put themselves back together. People who have faced impossible odds before. Not just scientists and engineers. Survivors. That's a tall order, Walker said. So is building a colony on a death planet, Rodriguez replied evenly. As the meeting continued, ideas began to flow. Dr. Richards worked with Thompson to design habitats that could withstand the extreme conditions. Rodriguez outlined a training program that would push candidates to their limits and beyond. Other experts tackled food production, energy generation, and medical concerns. 6 months passed. In a massive facility built in the Arizona desert, the first prototype of the Phoenix colony took shape. It wasn't pretty. A collection of interconnected pods that looked more like a strange fungus than a human settlement. But initial tests were promising. Walker walked through the prototype with Dr. Richards, watching as sections of the structure shifted and changed in response to simulated environmental threats. It's alive, he said, touching a wall that felt warm under his fingers. In a way, yes, Richards agreed. It learns from experience. The more we test it, the better it gets at protecting itself. And us. Will it be enough? Walker asked. Richards didn't answer immediately. Honestly, I don't know, but it's the best chance we have. In another section of the facility, Thompson was testing equipment designed to harvest and process Proxima's resources. His latest invention was a machine that could extract breathable oxygen from the planet's toxic atmosphere. "It works," he told Walker proudly, pointing to a small plant that was surviving inside a chamber filled with simulated Proxima air. "Not efficiently yet, but it works." "Good job," Walker said, noting the dark circles under Thompson's eyes had grown deeper. "When did you last sleep?" Thompson waved the question away. "I'll sleep when we've solved this puzzle, or when I'm dead, whichever comes first." Meanwhile, Commander Rodriguez was putting the first group of colonist candidates through hell. Her training program combined physical endurance, psychological resilience, and rapid problem-solving under pressure. "Again," she shouted as a team failed to erect an emergency shelter before the simulated acid rain began to fall. "On Proxima, you'd be dead now." "Again." Walker watched from an observation room. "She's tough on them." "She has to be," Dr. Park said, standing beside him. "The Council will be watching our every move, hoping we fail. We can't give them that satisfaction." As the one-year preparation deadline approached, the final plans took shape. 3 colony ships would carry 500 carefully selected colonists, along with the components for the Phoenix colony. Dr. Richards, Thompson, and Commander Rodriguez would lead the mission. The night before the launch, Walker visited the ships. The colonists were making their final preparations, saying goodbye to Earth possibly forever. "Are we ready?" Walker asked his team leaders. "As ready as we'll ever be," Richards said. "The tech will work," Thompson promised, "or I'll fix it there." Rodriguez simply nodded. "My people won't quit, no matter what that planet throws at us." Walker looked at them with pride. "The Council thinks humans are too primitive to survive out there. Too emotional. Too unpredictable." He smiled. "Let's show them that being human isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength." The next morning, as the colony ships prepared to depart, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. Director Trell's face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Walker," he said, "the Council will be observing your attempt with interest. I must say, your species' ability to march confidently toward failure is remarkable." Walker smiled at the screen. "Thank you for your concern, Director. We'll see you in 5 years, at our new home on Proxima Centauri V." The journey to Proxima Centauri took 3 months in the colony ships. During this time, the colonists continued their training and preparations. They studied maps of the planet's surface, ran simulations of different disaster scenarios, and fine-tuned their equipment. Dr. Emma Richards spent most of her time in the lab, working with samples of Proxima V's microorganisms that had been collected by earlier probes. Marcus Thompson made last-minute adjustments to his machines. Commander Rodriguez drilled the colonists daily, pushing them harder as they got closer to their destination. "We're entering the Proxima Centauri system," announced the pilot of the lead ship, Pioneer. The other 2 ships, Endurance and Discovery, followed close behind. The colonists gathered at viewing windows to see their new home for the first time with their own eyes. Proxima looked like an angry red and brown marble against the backdrop of space. "It doesn't look very welcoming," said Ben Foster, one of the younger colonists. "Neither did Earth's deserts or Antarctica," replied Rodriguez, standing beside him. "But humans live in both places now." As the ships approached the planet, their sensors began to sound alarms. "Increased solar activity detected," reported the science officer on the Pioneer. "A solar flare is heading our way." Richards rushed to the bridge. "How bad?" "Category 5. Much stronger than anything in our simulations." Thompson joined them, his face grim. "We need to land now or divert course away from the planet. If we divert, we lose valuable time," Richards said. "And the next window for a safe landing might be weeks away." Rodriguez made the call. "We land now. All ships prepare for emergency descent procedures." The 3 ships turned toward the planet, accelerating to beat the incoming solar flare. They hit the upper atmosphere just as the first waves of radiation washed over them. "Shields failing on engines 3 and 4, shouted a technician on the Endurance. "Reroute power from non-essential systems," ordered Thompson over the comm. The Pioneer entered the atmosphere first, its hull glowing red-hot from the friction. The ship shook violently as it descended through layers of toxic clouds. "Landing site in view," said the pilot, fighting with the controls. "But these winds are pushing us off course." Richards looked at the readouts. "The air pressure is higher than our data suggested. It's affecting our descent." On the Discovery, things were even worse. A panel had come loose during the entry, exposing critical systems to the caustic atmosphere. "We're losing control," the captain reported. "Going to have to make an emergency landing 2 miles south of the primary site." Rodriguez gripped her seat as the Pioneer made its final approach. The landing was rough, more of a controlled crash than a proper touchdown. The ship skidded across the rocky ground before finally coming to a stop. For a moment, there was silence. Then Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. "Status report, all sections." The reports came in. 12 injured, 3 seriously. Most systems were damaged but functional. The Endurance had landed a mile away with similar results. But the Discovery was in trouble. It had come down hard in a rocky area, and its hull was breached in 2 places. The caustic air was seeping in. "Emergency teams to landing bay," Rodriguez ordered. "Full environmental suits. We need to reach the Discovery before we lose anyone." Outside, the world was even more hostile than they had expected. The sky was a dark reddish-orange, with clouds of toxic gas swirling above. The ground was rocky and barren, with strange crystal formations jutting up in places. The air was filled with particles that scratched at their suit visors. The rescue team loaded into rovers and set out across the rough terrain. When they reached the Discovery, they found chaos. The crew was evacuating through emergency airlocks, carrying the injured. "The ship's a loss," said the Discovery's captain, her suit already showing signs of damage from the atmosphere. "We managed to save most of the critical supplies, but we lost the main habitat modules." Rodriguez helped organize the survivors, get everyone back to the Pioneer. "We'll regroup there." By the time they returned, Richards and Thompson had set up a temporary command center in the Pioneer's cargo bay. "We've lost nearly a third of our supplies," Thompson reported grimly. "And without the Discovery's habitat modules, we can't build the colony as planned." "What about the Endurance?" Rodriguez asked. "Minor damage. They've begun unloading their modules, but it's slow going in these conditions." Richard studied the data coming in from their sensors. The radiation levels are higher than expected, and there's some kind of corrosive element in the atmosphere that wasn't in our samples. It's eating through our external sensors already. Just then, a transmission came through. Director Trell's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Walker has informed me of your situation," he said, his 4 arms making a gesture that might have been sympathy or satisfaction. "The Council wishes to extend an offer. We will send ships to evacuate your people and end this foolish endeavor. There is no shame in admitting the challenge was beyond your capabilities." Rodriguez looked at Richards and Thompson. They all knew what accepting would mean. Earth isolated, humanity trapped in their dying solar system. "Tell Director Trell we appreciate the Council's concern," Richards replied carefully. "But we will need some time to assess our situation before making any decisions." After the transmission ended, Thompson slammed his fist on a console. "He thinks we're going to give up already." "Are we?" asked Ben Foster, who had been quietly helping tend to the injured. Richards looked out through a viewport at the hostile landscape of Proxima. "No, we're going to adapt." Over the next few days, the colonists worked around the clock. They salvaged what they could from the Discovery before the planet's atmosphere completely destroyed it. Thompson reconfigured his machines to work with less power. Richard studied the planet's microorganisms more closely, looking for ways to use them. 1 week after landing, Richards made a breakthrough. She burst into the command center, her face flushed with excitement, despite her exhaustion. "I found something," she said, placing a sample container on the table. Inside was what looked like a purple slime. "These microbes. They don't just survive in the toxic atmosphere, they feed on it. They convert the corrosive elements into compounds similar to what we find on Earth. Thompson leaned forward. Can we use them? I think so. If we can modify them and increase their reproduction rate, they could begin cleaning small areas of the atmosphere for us. It wouldn't be fast, but it would be a start. Meanwhile, Rodriguez had made a discovery of her own. The strange crystal formations that dotted the landscape had unusual properties. When exposed to the temperature swings between Proxima's day and night, they generated small electrical currents. We could use these as power sources, she explained. They're not as efficient as our solar panels, but they won't be damaged by the solar flares. As they worked to implement these discoveries, another transmission arrived from the Galactic Council. This time, it wasn't Director Trell but Minister Vex, the bird-like alien who had been most dismissive of humans. We have reviewed your situation, Vex said, his feathers ruffled in what seemed like annoyance. Your colony has suffered critical failures. By any reasonable assessment, your mission is already a failure. The Council formally suggests you accept evacuation. Richards looked at her colleagues, then back at the screen. Minister Vex, please inform the Council that we have made some interesting discoveries. Our mission continues as planned. After the transmission ended, Thompson gave a tired smile. Think they're worried? Richards nodded. They should be. We've only just begun to prove them wrong. 3 months after landing on Proxima Centauri, the human colony was taking shape. They called their settlement Phoenix Base, a fitting name for a community rising from the ashes of their difficult landing. Dr. Richards' modified microbes were proving to be a success. Contained in special domes around the settlement, they were slowly converting the toxic air into something humans could breathe, at least inside those protected spaces. The colonists could now work in some areas wearing only light-breathing masks instead of full environmental suits. Marcus Thompson had built shelters using materials from the planet itself. The strange crystals that Commander Rodriguez had discovered were now a key part of their power system. During the extreme temperature shifts between day and night, the crystals generated enough electricity to power their essential systems. 1-year anniversary coming up soon, Thompson said as he worked alongside Richards in the main laboratory. We should celebrate. Richards smiled. Celebrate surviving, you mean? Exactly. The Council didn't think we'd last a month. The lab was inside one of the larger domes, where the air was almost Earth-like thanks to the microbes. Outside, the landscape was still harsh and red, but small patches of engineered plants were beginning to grow in protected areas. Ben Foster entered the lab carrying a data pad. He had become Richard's assistant, showing a natural talent for understanding the planet's unusual biology. The new microbe batch is ready for testing, he reported. And the soil samples from Site C are showing signs of reduced toxicity. Good, Richard said. We're making progress faster than I expected. Just then, an alarm blared throughout the base. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside the lab. Warning: environmental system failure in Dome 2. All personnel evacuate immediately, announced the automated system. Richards and Thompson exchanged worried looks before rushing toward the emergency. When they arrived at Dome 2, they found Rodriguez already organizing an evacuation. The dome's air was rapidly becoming toxic again as the microbe systems failed. What happened? Thompson asked, checking the control panels. System just shut down with no warning, Rodriguez said, helping a coughing colonist to safety. All the microbe containers failed at the same time. Once everyone was safe, Thompson examined the system more closely. His face darkened as he worked. This wasn't an accident, he finally said. Someone deliberately shut down the safety protocols and introduced a toxin to kill the microbes. Sabotage? Richards asked, shocked. But who ruled? The Council, Rodriguez interrupted, her voice hard. They're making sure we fail. That night, the colony leaders met in the secure command center. The mood was grim. We've checked the other domes, Thompson reported. They're secure for now, But this attack shows our vulnerability. We lost 3 weeks of progress in Dome 2. Could it have been an accident? Asked Dr. Lee, the colony's medical director. No, Thompson shook his head. The system logs show someone accessed the controls using advanced tech we don't even have. The toxin that killed our microbes isn't from this planet. Rodriguez leaned forward. We need to set up security patrols. If there are saboteurs here, we'll find them. But there haven't been any ships, Richards pointed out. No one has landed since we arrived. Maybe they were already here, Foster suggested. Or maybe they have technology that can hide their ships from our sensors. The next day, Rodriguez organized security teams to patrol the perimeter of the settlement. Thompson installed new sensors and alarms on all critical systems. Richards backed up her research data and created hidden reserves of her modified microbes. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then one night, the farm dome lost power. All the lights went out, and the temperature control system failed. In the freezing cold of the Proxima night, most of their food crops died. Another attack, Rodriguez said as they surveyed the damage the next morning. They're targeting our survival basics, air and food. Thompson examined the power connection. They're getting smarter. This looks like an accident, a power coupling that failed naturally. But I designed these with triple redundancy. All 3 backups failing at once. Impossible. Richards looked at the dead plants. Months of work destroyed. We can start again, but we'll need to ration food until the new crops grow. Over the next month, more accidents happened. A water recycler exploded. A rover broke down miles from the base, stranding a survey team until they could be rescued. Critical medical supplies were found contaminated. After each incident, the colonists adapted. They built more backups, created new security measures, and found ways to work around the damage. But the constant sabotage was taking its toll. People were tired, resources were stretched thin, and morale was falling. During a rare quiet moment, Richards, Thompson, and Rodriguez met on a small hill overlooking the base. The sun was setting, turning the red landscape an even deeper crimson. We need to find the saboteurs, Thompson said. If this keeps up, they'll wear us down eventually. I've been thinking, Richards said slowly. What if we don't try to stop them? What if we let them think they're winning? Rodriguez looked at her sharply. Explain. We set up obvious targets, systems that look critical that aren't. When they attack those, we'll be watching. A trap, Thompson nodded, understanding. I like it. They put their plan into action. Thompson built what appeared to be a new main power generator. It was placed in an easily accessible location with minimal security. In reality, it was just a shell with tracking devices hidden inside. 3 nights later, their trap worked. The security cameras caught a shadowy figure approaching the fake generator. The figure moved oddly, too fluid to be human. When the alarm sounded, it fled, but not before Rodriguez's team could follow at a distance. The saboteur led them to a hidden ship, camouflaged among the crystal formations 2 miles from the base. Before they could capture it, the ship activated and vanished, using technology beyond human understanding. But they had gained valuable information. The ship's brief energy signature was recorded, and they found traces of unusual materials at the site. We need to report this to Earth, Rodriguez said. The Council is actively trying to make us fail. They sent a message to Captain Walker, including all their evidence. His reply came a week later. Message received. Evidence presented to Council. Director Trell denies involvement, but admits some factions may be acting independently. Continue mission. Earth is counting on you. Along with the message came a surprising package. New technology from Earth to help detect cloaked ships and protect their systems from sabotage. So the Council knows we know, Thompson said after reading the message. But they're not stopping the saboteurs. Of course not, Rodriguez said bitterly. They want us to fail, but they want to keep their hands clean. Richard studied the new technology from Earth. Let's use this to protect our most critical systems. But for everything else, I have a better idea." Her plan was bold. Instead of centralizing their critical resources, they would distribute them. Small, hidden gardens instead of one large farm dome. Multiple small power generators instead of a central plant. Redundant systems everywhere, but none appearing important. "Make us too difficult to cripple with a single attack," Rodriguez nodded approvingly. "And then feed false information about vulnerabilities," Thompson added, catching on. "Let them waste time attacking decoys while we build the real colony they can't see." As they implemented this strategy, a transmission arrived from the council. Director Trill's face appeared on the screen, his 4 arms making a gesture of formal greeting. "Humans of Proxima Colony," he said, "the council observes that you have faced difficulties. Your persistence is noted, but perhaps misguided. There is no shame in recognizing when a challenge exceeds capability." Richard stepped forward to respond. "Thank you for your concern, Director. But humans have a saying, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. We're not just surviving here, we're learning how to thrive." After the transmission ended, Thompson grinned. "Did you see his face? He's worried." "Good," Rodriguez said. "He should be. Because now we're not just building a colony, we're fighting back." 4 years and 7 months had passed since the humans first landed on Proxima Centauri V. The planet that had once seemed determined to kill them was now home to a thriving colony. Phoenix Base had grown beyond recognition. What started as a few survival domes was now a network of interconnected habitats spread across 5 square miles. Gardens flourished in specially designed chambers. The toxic atmosphere around the settlement had been noticeably transformed by Dr. Richard's microbes, which now reproduced naturally in the environment. In the main medical center, Dr. Lee was examining a young woman named Mia, who was 8 months pregnant. "Everything looks normal," Dr. Lee said, smiling. "The baby is healthy despite the higher radiation levels. This will be our first child born on Proxima." "The council said it would be impossible," Maya replied, rubbing her belly. "They said humans couldn't reproduce here because of the radiation. The council has been wrong about many things," Dr. Lee said. Across the settlement, Marcus Thompson was working on his latest invention, a machine that could process the caustic elements in Proxima's soil and turn them into building materials stronger than steel. "Try it now," he called to his assistant. The machine hummed to life, taking in the reddish soil and producing smooth, dark blocks that cooled rapidly in the air. "Perfect," Thompson said, examining one of the blocks. "These will let us build bigger structures without waiting for supplies from Earth." Commander Rodriguez entered the workshop, her face serious as always but with a hint of pride in her eyes. "Thompson, we've got visitors," she said. "The Council's observation ship just entered orbit. They're sending down representatives for the final inspection." Thompson put down the block. "Right on schedule. 5 years almost to the day." In the command center, Dr. Richards was preparing for the Council's visit. The large screen showed the alien ship in orbit, sleek, silver, and much larger than any human vessel. "They're bringing the whole Council this time," she said to Ben Foster, who was now her chief assistant. "Not just observers." "Do you think they'll admit we've succeeded?" Foster asked. Richards smiled. "They'll have to. We've met every requirement they set. We have a self-sustaining colony with over 600 people, including some who've never even been to Earth. We grow our own food, generate our own power, and we're expanding every month. Plus, we survived their sabotage attempts," Rodriguez added as she entered. "Though they'll never admit to those." A communication came through. Director Trill's face appeared on the screen, his expression as unreadable as ever. "Dr. Richards, Commander Rodriguez, Engineer Thompson," he greeted them formally. "The Council will arrive at your landing pad in 1 hour to conduct the final assessment of your colony." "We'll be ready to welcome you," Director Richards replied. After the transmission ended, Thompson sighed. 5 years of work, all judged in 1 day. "They've been watching us the whole time," Rodriguez reminded him. This is just a formality. When the Council's shuttle landed, the colony's leadership team was waiting. All 13 Council members emerged, looking around with expressions ranging from curiosity to poorly hidden disappointment. Director Trell approached first. "We will need a complete tour of your facilities and access to all your data to verify your colony's sustainability." "Of course," Richards agreed. "We've prepared everything." The tour began. The Council members were shown the living quarters, the farms, the power generation systems, and the manufacturing facilities. At each stop, Thompson or Richards explained how they had adapted Earth technology to work in Proxima's harsh environment. Some Council members asked detailed questions, while others remained silent. Minister Vex, the bird-like alien who had been most dismissive of humans, seemed particularly intent on finding flaws. "These plants," he said, pointing to a garden of vegetables, "they are Earth species. True sustainability would require using native life forms." Richard smiled. "If you look closely, Minister, you'll see these aren't exactly Earth plants anymore. We've modified them to incorporate elements of Proxima's native microbial life. They're hybrids that can process the local soil directly." Vex made a dismissive sound but moved on. As the tour continued, a warning siren suddenly blared throughout the colony. "Warning. Seismic activity detected. Potential volcanic event in progress." The automated voice was calm but urgent. The Council members looked alarmed, but Rodriguez remained composed. "Everyone please follow me to the secure center," she directed. "This is a standard precaution. You built your colony near a volcanic zone." Director Trell asked incredulously. "We built our colony on the most stable ground available," Thompson explained as they walked quickly. "But this entire planet has high geological activity. We've prepared for this." In the command center, screens showed a developing situation. A dormant vent 5 miles from the colony had become active, releasing superheated gas and molten material. "Projected path will bring lava flow within 2 miles of the eastern dome," reported a technician. Minister Vex turned to Director Trell. "This is clearly a colony-ending event. The inspection has shown that humans cannot maintain a stable settlement on this planet." Director Trell seemed ready to agree when Richard stepped forward. "Actually, this is an opportunity to demonstrate our final adaptation system," she said confidently. "Thompson, activate the flow channels." Thompson nodded and entered commands into the main console. Outside, large barriers rose from the ground in a pattern leading away from the colony. "What are those?" asked one of the Council members. "Lava flow directors," Thompson explained. "Made from the heat-resistant materials we developed using Proxima's own minerals. They'll channel the flow away from our settlement and into the collection basins." "Collection basins," Director Trell repeated. "You intend to capture the molten material?" Rodriguez nodded. "The volcanic output contains rare elements we need for our advanced systems, and the heat will be converted to power through our thermal generators. This event will provide enough energy to run the colony for months." The Council watched in astonishment as the humans' preparations worked perfectly. The lava flowed along the predetermined channels, away from the settlement, and into large, reinforced basins. The colony's power readings surged as the thermal generators absorbed the heat. "You anticipated this?" Director Trell asked. "We didn't just survive here," Director Richards said. "We studied the planet. We learned from it. We adapted to it. And now we're using what would be disasters on Earth as resources." Hours later, when the volcanic activity had stabilized, the Council gathered for their final assessment. The tension was palpable as Director Trell stood to deliver their verdict. "The Galactic Council has reviewed the human colony on Proxima Centauri," he began formally. "By unanimous agreement, we find that humans have established a self-sustaining presence on a world previously deemed uninhabitable by Council standards." He paused, his 4 arms making a gesture that seemed to indicate reluctance. "As per our agreement with Earth, humanity has earned its place on the Galactic Council. Your representative may take their seat at our next gathering." A cheer went up from the colonists who had gathered to hear the announcement. Richards, Thompson, and Rodriguez exchanged proud smiles. As the celebration began, Captain Walker arrived on a ship from Earth to witness the moment. He found Richards standing alone, looking out at the transformed landscape of their new home. "You did it," Walker said, joining her. "You proved them all wrong." Richards watched as the sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the colony that many had said was impossible. "No, Captain," she replied. "We did it. All of us. Not because we're stronger or smarter than the Council races, but because we've never forgotten what it means to struggle. Earth taught us that lesson over thousands of years." Walker nodded. Director Trell asked me how we succeeded against all logical probability. "And what did you tell him?" Walker smiled. "I told him it's because humans were built against all odds, and we've been proving doubters wrong since we first stood upright on the African savanna." As night fell on Proxima Centauri, the lights of the human colony shone brightly against the darkness, a beacon of what could be accomplished when determination met challenge, when innovation met necessity, when humans faced the impossible and refused to accept defeat.